brought up a lot of things that I kind of wish somebody had talked to me about, so I'm not going to go into depth because it's her story, but the basis of the video was that her granddad had passed away, and she's going to his funeral, but her dad also passed away, but she didn't go to his funeral for whatever her reasons that might be. And basically she was talking about how going back into that situation around the family could be possibly triggering for her, and as somebody who no longer lives in their hometown and hasn't for quite a while, for I would say it's 15 years. So when you watch this video, it'll be my birthday, so I'll be 26. At time of recording, it is the 19th of October, so like a week before, like 9 days before, whatever. So I'm currently 25, and yeah, so I no longer live in my hometown, and recently I went back, which if you're my auntie watching this, or any of my family members, you already know about this, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so I went back for one of my little cousins, like a celebration, and something happened with one of the only grandparent I have up there anymore, in Scotland, I mean, and the situation that came about was a very triggering situation. And so when I came back into where I live now, which is with my boyfriend, I was in a totally different headspace, and basically it was involving a lot of people being, not a lot of people, should I say. Basically, someone had too much to drink, and it led to something that then led to an argument, and basically just snowballed from there. But when I came home, so I realised how much being in my hometown, as much as I love it, and I still have relatives there, and as much as I love them, I have realised that the life I have here is incredibly different to the one I used to have there. For example, because I don't have that, I literally have my mum and her husband in terms of family. Obviously I have my boyfriend's side of the family, who I do consider family. I mean, like, the family I grew up with, at least my mum, for that. I've realised that because I live so far away, which, if you're in the UK, I used to live in Edinburgh and I live in Manchester, so it's like 200-300 miles, which probably to the US followers that's probably not that much, but it's a distance here. And so my life here is very different in terms of, like, it's very quiet. There is not that much drama. Generally, we don't get involved in family drama because we live too far away for us to be any use, and obviously we're not going to take sides. And so obviously I have a very quiet life here, and then going back into that situation, I realised how chaotic and manic the life I used to live up there was. And I guess I understand it was a child, but it was still like that even as a kid. So yeah, in terms of going back to your hometown, I just want to say, obviously, if you can, do go back, but also, like, protect your peace. And I said this in one of my comments on the said, at the end of the day, you know, as much as you may want to show your respect to somebody, you know, who's passed and who in it, like, almost brought you into this world through other people, you know, you've got to protect your peace at the end of the day, and you've got to protect your family, and if that means you don't go, or if that means you leave because you're being triggered, that's perfectly acceptable. And that's what that situation taught me over the summer, was that it's perfectly acceptable to leave if you're uncomfortable. At the end of the day, it's you that has to deal with the fallout if you stay in a situation that isn't good for you. And so I just think that's just an important reminder for everybody, you know, that yes, it's your family and yes, you love them, but you know, if you are uncomfortable, you can leave. No is a full sentence. Just, yeah. So she also talked about how her dad had passed away last year, and I don't know if I've ever talked about it on here, but my dad passed away in, I want to say, 2018. I'm just checking. I'm pretty sure it was 2018. Yeah, so it was a situation, to say the least, and there was a lot of extra drama. Oh, 2016. Sorry, Dad. So this year will be 7 years. It'll be 7 years on the 21st of December. So 4 days before Christmas, which I love that so much. But yeah, so when my dad passed away, we weren't talking, we weren't friendly, I don't know what you would call it, basically growing up, he wasn't really around, and he wasn't a very good role model, and I think he had a lot going on in his life that led him to find comfort in drugs and alcohol. And so if anybody knows what it's like to have a family member or a friend who's in that world, it can be very hard for them to stay in somebody's life because they're always into something. And so he was in and out of jail for most of my life, I would say. And then obviously I moved away because he was still living in Scotland, and so obviously that made it very hard to see him. And so I honestly couldn't tell you the last time I saw him. Maybe like when I was like 12 or 13 maybe. I used to go to my nana's quite a bit, which is his mum. And because obviously my dad couldn't see me by himself, so he had to have somebody with him. And so she would come pick me up, and then we'd go out for the day, and then she'd drop me back off at my mum's or my auntie's, where we used to stay when we went up to visit. But it's very hard when somebody who makes up half of you, and I say half, and I mean like biologically half, because my mum raised me basically as a single mum, and so I would say most of my mannerisms are from her. The way I am is because of her. Who I am as a person is because of her. Everything is because of her. But the trauma I have is from my dad, so cheers for that one, Mark. Appreciate it. But basically, yeah, so apologies. So from what my mum said, he was around a little bit when I was a kid, but not to the point of like, oh, you would consider him a full parent. Like, he would come into our lives, cause a lot of chaos and trauma and hurt, and then just leave, which is quite common in people who struggle with mental health issues and obviously are, partaking in substance abuse. I'm not saying people solely with mental health issues are like that. I'm saying the combination is what caused them to be like that, just so we're clear. And so when he passed away, I didn't really know him as a person, which is kind of sad actually, because if you ever go to somebody's like funeral or something, or wake or whatever, a lot of times they share memories of people who, like, sorry, let me rephrase. So a lot of times they share memories of like, what the person was like when they knew them, like funny stories, and I didn't have any of that. And it's actually kind of sad, because how do you mourn somebody who is half of you but you don't know them? It's a very surreal experience, if I'm being honest. And so I kind of just relied on my mum to tell me about him, at least from when she knew him, which was when they first got together. Obviously before I was born, and obviously when I was still young, and they were still together or whatever. But there was also, obviously, losing a parent is traumatic, whether you think it's traumatic, let me rephrase, losing a parent is traumatic in itself, whether or not you had a traumatic experience with them, if that makes sense. And so yeah, and so there was a lot of drama that came around that, from my dad's side of the family, who blamed me for his passing, which, don't do that, even if you think they might be the reason, which I still have a hard time believing that I'm not, but that's a whole different story time. But even if you think somebody might be to blame, unless it was murder, do not say that to them, because I can assure you their head is being 10 times nastier to them than you could ever be, and they do not need you to they do not need you to say that to them. So yeah, so basically my dad's side of the family refused to attend his funeral if I was going, and so I was stubborn and went anyway, because I wanted to show my respect, and I still thought they might come, so I was calling and texting them, and they blocked me and never turned up. And so at my dad's funeral, it was me, my mum, my aunt, my grandparents. On my mum's side, they sat in the car outside because they didn't like him, so they didn't come in, which is fair enough. My mum and I can't drive, and so they drove us up to Scotland and paid for us to stay in a hotel for the weekend, and then drove us back down, which was more than I would ever have asked of anybody, and I was so appreciative. But and then it was people who my dad lived with, and so basically he lived in like a supported living situation, basically for people who have finished rehab and are in supposed recovery. Basically they go and stay with a bunch of other people, and they basically learn how to integrate back into society, and they do other stuff, like they do like team building stuff, and obviously I was like 19 at the time. Yeah. No, sorry. So he died in December and the funeral was in February, so I would have been 20 at that point, I think. Or 19. 2016. 19. No, I still would have been 19, sorry. Because I would have turned 19 in October, but it was very interesting because nobody spoke at his funeral. Because obviously I basically his family had arranged the funeral and everything that was going to be spoken about and knew what songs were going to play, and then obviously didn't turn up. Which, by the way, don't do that to your family. It hurts so much, because you just feel, obviously I know I had my mum, but from my dad's side of the family I just felt totally abandoned. But yeah, and so I remember at the end, I don't know if this is like a common thing, but at the end the family of the person who's passed away stand at the door. Well, they get let out. Well, you lead out first, and then you stand at the door and everybody else leaves, and then obviously they say their condolences. And so I remember, I think it was a woman who lived, so I think there was like 1 or 2 staff members that were there that were, looked after the supported living, and then there was I think there was maybe 3 or 4 people who stayed with my dad. And I remember this woman coming up to me and she goes, "Oh, you must be Danielle." And I was like, "Yeah." And she went, "Oh, your dad always talked about you. Always, always." And honestly I thought, oh my god, I actually thought I was going to throw up at that time, because obviously when you're estranged, you don't think that they think about you. And so that was a very, for lack of a better word, weird moment. So yeah, so she said, "Oh, he always talked about you and stuff," and my dad had my name tattooed on his arm with my date of birth, which I always made a joke, which is sad now, but I always said, "Oh, that's how he actually remembered my birthday," because obviously it was tattooed on him and he was always on a completely different planet to everybody else, but that's not the point. And she had this, it was an envelope, and she said, "Oh, I really wanted somebody from his family to have the most recent picture of them," which was, they'd went on one of those team building things, and they'd gone abseiling, and she said, "Oh, this is the most recent picture of him," and it was him abseiling, and it was a very weird situation, because I know that is my dad, but it's very weird to look at a picture and know that is somebody and to recognise somebody, but to not know them. The best way I can describe it is, say you've seen somebody in a movie before and you're watching them and someone else and you're like, "Oh, I know them, but I don't know them, but I kinda do." That's the best way I can describe that. And I cried and I think I gave her a hug. And I'm gonna be honest, I think my brain just blanked out most of that, but that is the one thing I remembered. And do you know what I just found so interesting was that this stranger to me, I mean, she wasn't a stranger to him, but she was a stranger to me, had decided remembers the most recent picture of him, and I just thought, is that not just, and I know, these people are in recovery and they might have done, some interesting things with their life, or, maybe interesting is not the right word, but, some questionable things, but I just thought that level of kindness really just shocked me, because I just couldn't get over the fact that she had gone out of her way. Obviously she'd asked somebody in their assisted living, in like the office or something, to print that picture out, and she'd got the envelope, and she'd actually remembered to bring it with her, and she had actually thought about what the family had gone through and gone, well, I think I would like the most recent picture, so I'm gonna get that for them. And I have that picture. I don't want to hang it up because it makes me upset, but I have that picture, and you know what? I think it was, I think I really needed that, actually, and I kind of wish I found out more about where he was staying so that I could reach out to them and thank her, because honestly, having that picture is probably one of the few things that got me through that time, because even if I don't look at the picture, I know it's there, and I know that, he was trying to lead a life that was, what would you consider normal, for whatever that means to you. But I think the sad thing is that, from what I could tell, it actually did sound like he was going into recovery, and then me and him had a very heated discussion, because he was trying to reconcile and trying to get back into my life, and I told him I was done being, let down all the time, and I didn't want that anymore. And then he took a drug overdose, which, by the way, I'm gonna have to put a trigger warning at the beginning of this, but this is what I was saying about my family thinking, well, not my family, sorry, well, technically they are my family, but my dad's side of the family, thinking that I was the reason, because if we hadn't had that argument, he probably wouldn't have gone and, gone back to drugs or whatever. But at the same time, I feel like that is a lot of responsibility to put on a 19-year-old who has just lost a parent and has no idea what is going on in their life, because I didn't. I still suffer the after effects now. I had what I thought was my whole life planned, and it went to shit, basically. I'm gonna get a drink. I think as well, for me, like, because he had caused so much pain in my life, and this sounds really bad, and I'm trying, I don't know how to word it in a way that it doesn't sound as harsh, but I kind of felt like he got off lightly, in terms of, like, he caused me so much pain, and then when I didn't want to do that anymore, he just kind of dipped. He was like, okay, fair enough, bye. And I was just like, what? And I felt like, maybe, if he was still around, and as I got older, I thought maybe I would reach out to him and try and, reconcile, try and see, if we could move past what happened. But obviously, that is not a luxury. I was 40, unfortunately, but, maybe, I don't know, maybe whatever he was going through at the time, or what was happening in his past life that caused him to, go down that route of, other methods other than therapy. Maybe he's at peace wherever that may be, and maybe that's the best outcome that can be done for him. And yeah, it's sad though, because it wasn't that old. So if I was 16, my mum would have been 33, so he would have been 34. No, sorry, not 16, sorry. It was 2016, so I would have been 19, so my mum would have been 37, so he would have been 38. And so I don't think that's not old by any means, and so I think he could have easily lived longer, especially because he was, by what his friends had said, in recovery. So it's definitely sad, I think. And so the reason I bring this up is because obviously in that video that Past Your Bedtime did, she said, she didn't go to her dad's funeral, but she's going to her granddad's. And so a few years after my dad passed away, which I think it was 2018 or 2019. I'm pretty sure it was 2018 because COVID was 2019, and I don't think we would have gone up if that was the case. But in 2018, my nana passed away, which was my dad's mum, and so that was really sad. But at that time, his brother had reached out to me, and we were civil and stuff, and so he was one of the people that didn't attend my dad's funeral, and so that was really, I think that was also traumatic in itself, to go and realise that he turned up for his mum, which obviously, obviously because I was going, maybe he also realised, put it behind us, and for whatever reason. But yeah, and between 2016 and 2018, my dad's other brother also passed away. I wasn't invited to that funeral, so yeah, I didn't go to that. But the reason I'm saying this is because in both of those situations, they were very traumatic. And also when I went out for my nana's funeral, after everything that happened, it was a very traumatic experience, obviously, rehashing all of that, but also it was a very triggering experience because where the funeral was held is also where my dad's ashes were scattered and where my sister is buried. So it's a very it holds a lot of and also I have great grandparents there as well, and so that particular cemetery is how would you say, yeah, it holds a lot of grief for me, so that was hard enough. And then obviously I had to go and face somebody who left me in what I would consider my darkest moment in life, and I decided that I was to blame and that they wouldn't attend. And so seeing them in another funeral situation was interesting. It was hard, actually, although I have to say, I wonder if his girlfriend, my dad's brother's girlfriend, was the reason that I was invited, because when I got there, he didn't really talk to me, but she was very nice. Yeah, so maybe, I don't know, maybe she pushed him to reach out to me, I'm not sure. But what was interesting is that when I turned up, there was other family members there from that side of the family who I didn't know, who were giving me not very nice looks. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just because I didn't say anything and I just stood there and waited to go in. But also, I don't really know what they wanted me to say, and I didn't recognise any of them, whereas they probably knew who I was. And I look like my dad, to be fair. Like, it's weird because when I sit next to my mum, I'm like, oh, I look like my mum, and then when I see a picture of my dad, I'm like, see, but I actually look like both of them. It's weird. So yeah, maybe they realised who I was or whatever. Maybe he'd been talking about me before it was nice because we went for drinks after, which is quite common. And he was very nice, and then I stayed there for like an hour and then went home. Well, actually, we were staying in a hotel, so I went to pick up my dog because I left her with my aunt, and then I think we just relaxed. It was really weird though, because I'm glad I went, but at the same time, I just felt like I was almost shunned a little bit. I felt like I couldn't have won. Not that you can win in that situation, but in terms of like, I don't think there was a right side for me to pick. Like, obviously there's no right side, but what I mean is like, I don't think I think if I'd not gone, I would have upset somebody, but having gone, I also had upset somebody somehow, so I feel like, you know, somebody was gonna get upset and I just had to pick for me, and I am actually very glad that I went. I just kind of wish I'd seen her in the lead up to it, but you know, unfortunately when you live so far away and don't drive, and also I was a student at the time, so didn't really have the luxury of extra money to go and visit. It's just one of them, unfortunately, but she was pretty sick towards the end, so yeah. So currently I only have one relative on my dad's side that I know of that lives up there. Well, obviously I've got him and he's 2 kids, but yeah. I'm really curious to know, because obviously my dad wasn't with my mum from when I was like 5, so I'm curious to know if he was ever with anybody else, and if he ever had any more kids. I don't think he would have, but I would be curious to know whether or not I had maybe a half sibling, or, you know, not that you would call them half siblings, obviously they're siblings to you, but you know, I'd be curious to do one of those you know, DNA things or ancestry things, just to see if I did have anybody else out there, because, you know, I'm an only child, so, you know, it would be nice kind of thing. I don't know, maybe I think that's something to look into. I think that would be nice, but then I've also realised if I do that and realise I don't have any other relatives out there, it's just going to make me feel even more alone, which I am not. I do have a very loving family and friends. I'm just saying, like, in terms of like that side of the family, it would be kind of sad actually. So I guess, I don't know, do you try and find out, or do you just let yourself? Oh, sorry, I've got like a bag of pencils here, and I was like, oh, one of them's missing, but it's not. There's like some of them are covered by paper. Anyway, yeah, so I'd be curious to see if I did have any more relatives out there. I feel like I must, surely, but whether that be siblings or like, I don't know, distant cousins or something, I'd be very interested to find that out. Yeah, and also like, going off the topic of grief, but obviously I'm approaching 26. Obviously when you guys see this, it will be my birthday, but I don't know, I feel like, you know, like when you're a kid and stuff, and they're like, oh, what do you want to be in like 20 years time or 10 years time, and I'd be like, oh my god, I'd love to have like kids and a family and be married and have a house and have a great job. And then you get to 26 and you're like, I have a loving boyfriend and a great dog and an amazing family and amazing friends, but I'm not married. I don't have my own house. My boyfriend bought this house and I just live with him. I got made redundant, so I'm currently unemployed, and I have no idea what career I want to go into, and so I kind of just feel like a little bit in limbo, and I'm like, what am I actually doing? What am I squint because I sat on them with my fat ass and broke one, like, not the, I didn't break the leg, it's just tilted, so it should be like this. But it's not, it's like that. Anyway, I don't think it's the leg, I think it's the joint where I'm getting off track. Anyway, yeah, and so, you know, I'm like, what am I actually doing? Like, I'm definitely not ready for kids. I don't want to go back into the job I was in before because I don't think it worked out well for me in terms of, like, obviously I got made redundant, but also I just don't know if that career was suited to me. So I need to figure out what I'm good at, which, by the way, I have no idea. And I need to be able to turn that into a career. I need to find something I'm good at, turn it into a career. Or do I just get a job and then figure it out? You know what I mean? I'm just like, I feel like I'm just in limbo and I have no idea what's going on. I did go back to uni part-time though, so, you know, that is something, I guess. You know, it's hard because, you know, in terms of my relationship and my relationship and, you know, love and stuff, I have never been happier. I've never been in a relationship that has made me feel more fulfilled. I have never been in a relationship with a man who is so caring and gentle and loves me, whether I have a, you know, just loves me for me, and who's probably one of the most supportive people I know. And, you know, he does give me tough love when I need it, but he knows when I need it and when I just need, you know, somebody to hold my hand. And for that, I am incredibly thankful for, and, you know, touch wood, this is the person that I could honestly see, you know, us being only, like, he's like the one for me. Which I am so thankful for, and obviously, you know, as much as I just spouted off, what is it, 40 minutes of how sad my life is, and, you know, everything that is like a big portion of how sad my life is, you know, there is good things, and he is one of them. And I'm not saying you need a partner to, you know, have a good life. I'm just saying that I am very thankful. Oh, I did that because I basically moved the mic, which is attached to my phone, and knocked my phone over, so we're back. But yeah, I'm not saying you need to have a partner in your life at all. This could apply to any relationship. You know, there is, it could be, you know, just a friendship, you know, family member, whatever. I do think it is important to have at least one family member who will be your support, your backbone when you feel like you do not have a backbone, but also will call you out on your shit and give you tough love when you need it, because unfortunately I feel like sometimes we all need a little bit of tough love, and actually for someone to go, you know what, come on, let's get on, what are you doing? But yeah, I love him dearly for that, although sometimes he'll try and give me a solution to something and I'm like, can you just not listen to me, like, cry about it and then I'll be fine. But I think that's just a man thing. You know, I know, and through this whole, you know, work thing, and, you know, like, me having depression and anxiety, I have never once felt like a burden to him. You know, I might feel like it in terms of, oh, I just don't know what I'm doing, or, you know, I feel like I could contribute more, but he's never said that to me, you know, and I know that he is rooting for me, and, you know, there's something so pure about somebody, you know, is just rooting for you as a person, whether you're in a relationship or whether, you know, it's a friendship, I just know that he just wants whatever is best for me as a person outside of the relationship, if that makes sense. And so that's a very it's a very wholesome thing, I would say. And obviously I feel that way about him. You know, I would say as well, like, he's not just a partner, he's, you know, my best friend. Like, we talk about everything together, we laugh about everything. We have different interests and some of the same interests, and we have different opinions on some stuff and the same opinions on some stuff, and it makes us a very well-rounded couple, I would say. I always say this, like, you know, people, you always try and give, what is it, 100 or 50, whatever you want to say it, but, you know, there are some days when I can only give 30 and he gives 70, and, you know, some days there's only where you can give it 10 and I'll pick up the 90, but I will always say that we are a team, no matter what. So, even if I am, you know, if I'm successful or whatever, if he is unsuccessful or he's not having a good day, I will always make it so that we are on the same level. So say, for example, this is quite common, so at the minute, obviously, with me not working, I do like a lot of the house jobs and stuff, and so, you know, he was like, oh, can you just do this, and like, you know, like, sometimes, like, he makes a lot of his own, like, teas and, you know, dinners for work, or whatever. And, okay, also, this is a butter tub, and this is what my mic usually sits on. I love that. But yeah, you know, like, he was like, oh, he was going away for the weekend, and, you know, he had like work and he had to pack his bag and stuff, and then obviously he's like, oh, I need to make stuff for thing, like, I need to make food for my lunches at work next week, and I was like, done, I'll do that. You know, and I think I don't understand sometimes, especially in the world of like social media and stuff, which is a whole different conversation, but I just don't understand how, like, some people can just watch their partner stress out. Like, why would you not just pick up the slack and help them? Like, I don't understand. Like, obviously if they were like, oh no, don't help me, I can do it, obviously, like, don't overstep, but like, you know, if someone's like, oh, I need to do this, I'm like, right, okay, give me a job, what do you want me to do? Or like, and I don't mean like a household job, I mean like, you know, like, when it's like, when you live with somebody, you've got your joint jobs that are like household jobs, and you've got like tasks that you need to do, like, for example, I need to wash my hair, or I need to make food for next week, you know what I mean? So you have like your individual jobs, don't you? And so I think, why don't you just, if all the joint jobs are done, or, you know, if they're like, oh, you know, doing the washing up is my job this week, and then they're like, oh, actually, I have so much going on, I don't know how I'm going to fit this all in, pick a job. You don't even have to say what job you want me to do. I usually ask in terms of like, if Chris is stressed, I'll say, right, do you want me to do the teas? Do you want me to put your washing on for you? Do you want me to hang up? Do you want me to put it away? I always ask because, and that's not incompetence, I'm asking because then he can pick which jobs he feels like he is mentally able to concentrate on. For example, say if you've had a really long week, the last thing you probably want to do is sit and pair up your socks and put them in the drawer, or fold your underwear, put them in the drawer, hang up all your clothes. So I'm like, great, that's a mental load, give that to me, I'll do that, I don't mind. And I know he would do the same. Like, sometimes, you know, like when I'm getting ready and stuff, and we're going out, I'm like, oh, I really need to eat Lola, but I need to also eat, and I also need to, he's like, right, you finish, you keep getting ready, because that's going to stress you out if you don't look the way you look, which, that is so true. And he's like, I'll feed Lola, and I'll make us tea before we go. Amazing, great, there's one job I don't have to think about. do that. Obviously there's a point in which it's incompetence, but I'm not talking about that in this scenario. Which is also something that confuses me about, is like, especially on TikTok, and it's usually women with kids with a man who complain because basically their partner is like an extra child for them, and you know, I get what it's like, sometimes you do pick up the slack for a partner or whatever, but there comes a point when actually they are more of a burden than they are help. Like, I saw this woman say that it's actually easier now that she's divorced because she no longer has to kind of think about her partner, or, you know, she has to account for him not pulling his weight, whereas now, because it's just her and the kids, she does it anyway, and she's like, I'm actually better off for it. Which, first of all, that's incredibly sad that that's how she feels, because a partner should fulfill your life, not make it worse. By the way, just so you know, you should want a partner, but you should never need a partner, ever. Just so you know. I'm just saying that right now. But yeah, and so I just thought that was really sad, and you know, me and Chris have had to talk about, like, do we want kids and stuff, and like, I can honestly say that's one thing I've never second guessed would be his contribution to that part of our life. It's one thing that I feel like, obviously I don't have kids now, so it's hard to say, but I honestly think, you know, when I think about, like, oh, would he be a good parent, or would he, you know, pull his weight, and I honestly can say yes. Like, on TikTok there's been so many things of like, oh, there's this one nurse and she does like, oh, the reasons, you know, the dad missed the kid's labour, and it's like, oh, one of them had to go and shower. They have showers at the hospital, you can use them. And she was like, oh no, he only wanted to shower at home. And so he missed his kid's birthday, or one of them was, oh, he went to get food outside of the hospital. One of them was that, oh, he was like cheating on her. Or he was like, another one was like, oh, he was on a business call. First of all, if you see the red flags before you have kids, get out, run. Just then. But obviously that doesn't always happen, and so I have to say, when I think about that, I know that Chris wouldn't be like that, and so I do have I saw this one thing where this one gave birth and she shat. One sec. And I said to Chris, I said, oh, you know, what if that happened? You know, like, what if I just shat? And he was like, right hand. He was like, it happens. And I was like, oh, like, but like, what if I like tear? He was like, yeah, and I honestly do not think there's anything I could do to put this man off. I don't want to try though, just in case. But yeah, I feel like this video has just been a lot of back and forth, but it's kind of nice. It's almost like a diary entry, you know, like a video diary. But yeah, I just think, oh, and also going back to the social media thing, do not compare yourself to anybody you see on social media, because I can assure you that is not what their day-to-day life looks like. And if it is, they're probably in a completely different tax bracket to you, and so they can live their life and you can enjoy living, you know, and looking at how they live their life. But do not think that that is a standard you have to achieve, because let's be real, the top 1% is the 1% for a reason. I'm not getting political, I'm just saying. And so I'm not saying it's unachievable, but I'm just saying, like, you know, if you think about the majority of people do not live like that. I'm not saying you can't, I'm just saying, you know, live within your means, because debt is nobody's friend. I hope you guys can hear the rain. I'm gonna leave it here because it's been nearly an hour. But you know, I think the point of this video was, one, I just had some stuff I needed to say, and also I think it's important. You know, YouTube is a social media too, and so I just, want to, be transparent and make sure that, ASMR is quite common for people who have mental health issues, and, or struggle to sleep, or for whatever reason you enjoy watching them. But I just want people to know that nobody is ever truly alone, whether you believe that you are or not. You are never, ever alone. There are many organisations out there who, provide help, like Samaritans if you're in the UK. I'm not sure if that's a US thing or not, but who will provide the help that you need and want nothing in return. Yeah. I kinda like doing these videos. I might make them like a regular thing. But yeah, the whole point of this video was just to show you guys that, you're not as alone as you think, and that you can always go turn to somebody. And also, we are not our trauma. Yes, trauma happened to us, and yes, it is triggering, but that is not all we are. We are a whole different other person, and yes, we could have been a whole different other person outside of that if we didn't have trauma, but we do, and we grow, and we learn, and we have therapy if you can afford it, or you can get it for free. I recommend. But that is not all we are. We are not just solely trauma. We are many different things, and I think that is a very important thing to remember. Okay, my throat's getting sore from whispering, but I just wanted to say I love you guys so much. Go and, I don't know, have a cup of tea, have a hot chocolate, have a biscuit, have a piece of chocolate, whatever, have some grapes. Enjoy your life, hug your loved ones, give your dog or cat a kiss, or whatever pet you have. I saw somebody have a pet raccoon on TikTok, and I was like, first of all, that is a wild animal, and second of all, where can I get one immediately? But also, I don't know if this is a stupid thing to say, but I've never seen a raccoon in the UK. I'm pretty sure, unless they're in like a wildlife reserve or something, I'm pretty sure we don't have them. And I doubt you could smuggle a raccoon from the US to the UK, right? Because I'm pretty sure they have like diseases. Not me actually consider. Anyway, that's besides the point. Go and enjoy whatever it is you enjoy. If you want to go outside and touch grass and smell fresh air, do that. If you want to stay inside and read and smut on your Kindle, also do that. Whatever makes you happy, and refill your cup, because you cannot serve anyone if your cup is empty. Okay, I'm actually gonna go this time. Okay, love you so much. Also, those two videos that I talked about, Truly Tiaras and Bausch Bedtime ASMR, I'm gonna put them down below. I highly recommend those two women. Are amazing people and are so well, what's the word, like eloquent, like they just say their